They're a good team. We know they have a lot of experience back. I think against Dayton, they really did a great job of living in the lane. They've got a veteran backcourt, guys that can score it, that can beat you off the bounce. They try to free their perimeter players up with ball screens, and that'll be a big challenge for our team, is to be able to contain those guys as well as keep them out of transition, where they did a great job of getting to the rim.
They're backcourt. They're different, aren't they? I mean, one's a three-point shooter. The other one can kind of score a number of different ways, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Barnes is going to end up being their probably all-time leading three-point shooter in school history. He's smaller, but he's got the ball on a string. Has very deep range. The ball's in his hands a lot. And then, Tyreek Key's a guy that, shot 14 free throws against Dayton. He does an amazing job of keeping guys on his shoulder, on his side, drawing contact. He gets in the lane, pivots, shoots step backs. He's got really good size for a two-guard. And then I was really impressed with Christian Williams, who may not be the scorer those two guys are, but a guy that is very, very long for his position and has an ability to drive the ball and get to the rim. So it's a big challenge in the backcourt. Their front court's a little bit younger, but their backcourt, can play with anybody in the country.
What's their defensive scheme? Because you mentioned the other night Youngstown State threw a couple different things at you guys. You handled them all pretty well.
Well, I think they're primarily man-to-man. They can extend it from time to time. They'll also show a little bit of zone, both contained press and a zone in the half court. And, we just have to be wise with our decisions, whether they're man or zone.
Fresh was in here talking a minute ago. How have you seen him adjust to the team? Have you been happy with what
He's doing great. He's a mature young man. He's a guy that I think his teammates know will be steady with the ball. He's not the primary scorer by any means like he was at St. Joe's, but I think, he really wants to be at a place that has a chance to do something special, and he's playing his role, and he's continuing to get his feet under him and be more comfortable with the program, the staff, and his teammates.
He touched on the chemistry. Can you sense too that these guys are starting to get a little bit more comfortable playing with each other?
Well, I hope so. You worry about that as a coach when you bring in 7 new players, but the 7 are really close. But I've seen the upperclassmen really go out of their way, not just to correct and teach, because that can become a little bit like Mr. Know-It-All telling me where I need to be and what I need to do. For example, when Quinn had his appendectomy, my wife and I went and visited him in the hospital the night before, and I walk in there and you've got Aiden, Jordan, Darius, and I'm gonna leave one guy out. I feel bad, but it was a mix. It was another freshman. I think it was David. Could be any of the freshmen, and it was good to see 2 upperclassmen there. 2 young guys. That really says a lot about, I think, how they feel about one another.
Chris, you were very not pleased with the rebounding from the last game. With the team that you're facing now, with outside shooters, how are you guys preparing for some of those longer rebounds, maybe to fix those numbers you guys had last game?
Well, to me, it really doesn't matter where the rebound ends up going, whether it's a short shot or whether it's a long shot. It's still a matter of being able to get inside the offensive player, carve out space, and keep him away from the basketball. And if you don't make an attempt to find your man when the shot goes up, it really doesn't matter where the ball's shot from. But having said that, our guards and guys that challenge the shot can't leak out and assume that Dwayne Sutton or Steve Enoch are going to get the rebound. We got a gang rebound, but it first starts with gang blocking out. And we didn't do either very well in the first 2 games. It's something we have to improve on.
Been happy with Jordan so far this year, scoring. You've been happy with his defense and all other aspects?
Jordan's doing well, and we got to continue to, make him a better player all throughout the year. Yeah, really pleased.
Chris, games obviously are important and you want to win them, but how important with this team and the new faces are practices this early in the year, because you want to see a day-to-day improvement, don't you?
Yeah, everything's important, and there's never been a time in my coaching career where practice hasn't been important. Whether that's the first day I was an assistant coach or 2 today. I mean, that's where you build habits. That's where you break habits. That's where you gain an ownership of your system as a player, and that's where you teach your system. And so, what you all see is game night, but, I'm more concerned every single day with improving in practice. And, some teams can't do that. They can do it for a little while, and then the season becomes monotonous to them. Their goals that were really cool in that first team meeting aren't reachable, and teams fall apart. And, never want to be one of those teams.
What have you seen from David as he starts to kind of get back into the mix in practices?
In terms of,
is he if he's going to be up to this standard that Fresh and Darius have set so far?
well, it's hard. He everything he's done, Danielle, has been non-contact. So it's, I do think, because he's able to 5-on-0 everything that we run. He is in shooting drills. He is in, conditioning drills or fast break drills that, again, are non-contact. There's no defense on the floor. I think, it's very evident that David has the IQ of understanding what we're doing on the floor, but it's going to be a little different when, there's 5 defenders out there and people are flying around. But it's not that he's not capable of it. It's just how does he go from, being a freshman who's watched now for 4 months to a freshman that we're going to put in the game and expect, him to play well. And I have no doubt David's capable of it, but I'm sure there'll be a little adjustment period.
Does Malik face a little bit of the same challenge, even though obviously he has that experience, but just being out for so long, do you think he'll kind of have that same challenge?
Yeah, I think every player that comes off injury, it's nothing. There's nothing like getting thrown in the fire, and I do think there's something to be said and something really good for a player when they have the opportunity to see it from the sidelines, from a coaching perspective, or a perspective that doesn't have them worried about their minutes, their role. They can really see the game holistically and understand that what we're doing on the floor. And I think it helps them as a player, but there's no doubt there's a little bit of an adjustment period depending on how long a time the guy's out and how much experience he has at this level. Unfortunately, Malik has a couple of years under his belt.
You talked about the chemistry. I noticed the other day Malik was telling guys at timeouts before you all got to them different things. I think one time Jordan kind of had Josh aside. That's just, these upperclassmen are like that. I mean, they're just...
Malik certainly is. I think Malik is by far and away the best at communicating and really understanding. He's one of the smarter defenders that I've coached. That's why he's one of the best in our league. He's able to block shots, although he doesn't have a 40-inch vertical. He's got great timing. He'll put his nose on the floor for a loose ball. And that all starts from seeing the game develop. You don't get that from a lot of big guys. And so it's great to have that voice on the bench, although I want that body on the floor.